Zone coverage is incredibly common in college football 26, and every play has a built in weakness. Today, I'm breaking down exactly where cover 2, cover 3, and cover 4 drop get exposed, and showing you how to beat each one step by step. And if this video hits 250 likes, I'll drop part 2 covering man and match coverage weaknesses. So hit that like button. Now let's get into it. The first zone coverage I'm going to break down is cover 2. This is a zone coverage that's designed to allow checkdowns, so you're perfectly okay with somebody throwing a running back flat route or drag over the middle of the field. That is a win to the defense. But what I want to talk about are the major weaknesses of cover 2 where you can really hurt it. So I'm going to post an image on screen showing all of the major weaknesses. I'll also just highlight some of the minor weaknesses. But really between the safeties and the deep sidelines or where you can really hurt cover 2. I'm going to show you a play that really does that, and that's verticals. It's not this specific verticals, but in general having 3 or 4 vertical routes is going to put a lot of strain on these safeties because there's only 2 deep zones. So if you have 4 deep routes, who's covering all of the deep routes? They can only pick 2 of them, really. So this play is a good example of really hitting the major weaknesses of a cover 2. So let's have a look. We're going to go ahead and try to split these safeties just like this. Misses the throw, but you see that's a pretty big weakness. You also have the hole shot on the outside. So once that streak passes the cloud flat, the safety is getting held by Y right now, and you can just throw this over the cloud flat, pass lead down, or in some cases even pass lead up, and this is how you get some big gains against cover 2. Can't believe he dropped that. Now you also have some minor weaknesses where you can throw some checkdowns. So to your running back, right here, we just got close to 10 yards just from a simple check down. So things like running back angle routes are really good too, because what that'll do is regardless of what they're doing with their middle linebacker. So we have this mid read here who is responsible for kind of protecting these safeties by getting into this part of the field. But what some people will do is play more of a cover 3 of sorts by putting him into a deep zone like this. So what you can do is attack that part of the field with a running back Texas and get some big yardage like that. So that's one of the minor weaknesses. Of course, a 10-yard gain is hardly a minor weakness. But when it comes to really hurting cover 2 for a one-play touchdown or a really big gain, it's usually going to be outside these cloud flats on the sideline or right between the safeties. And then just to show you, it doesn't need to be that formation or that play. You can do this out of really any formation. You probably have 4 verticals in your playbook. I actually know for sure all of you have 4 verticals in your playbook. And you can run something like this out of a spread look, maybe put your running back on a Texas for a check down option, and then you can just pick whatever fade you like more on the outside. That should work on both sides. In this case, you got an outside release, which is even better because the safety really can't get to it. In this case, we have this fade with a pass lead to the right. And these inside streaks, really not throwable against this look, but in some cases, you can outrun and maybe get a throw in there. The mid-read's playing that pretty well. But you also have the Texas underneath. The mid-read wants to drop back that far. The user is going to have to take this Texas. But if he takes the Texas, then you have those outside throws to your outside fades. The last thing I want to say about this coverage is by default, this does allow checkdowns, but that doesn't mean your opponent is going to allow checkdowns at all times. So this is a stock Tampa 2, but if they shade their coverage down, you're going to have hard flats on the outside, and then you're also going to have hook curls that are going to play a little bit more down. So if you look at this route combo, if we drag the tight end, maybe in route the running back, run kind of a mesh over the middle, look at the hook curls. They're going to play way more down. You can now fit this dig in over the top. And it's the same way with these outside cornerbacks. You might not see these guys in hard flats too often. People might shade down and then re-cloud flat these guys on the outside. But let's just say they are playing hard flats. The easy way to attack that is just with something like a corner route, because at this point, it's very easy just to attack the sideline over that hard flat. So I just wanted to make that clear that just because the defense allows checkdowns by default doesn't mean your opponent can't adjust and play more aggressively to take away those checkdowns. Quick heads up, if you want full schemes, in-depth breakdowns, and weekly updates for college football 26, check out acemadden.com. Everything's built to help you win more games, and if you use code ACE at checkout, you'll get 25% off. My first scheme of the year is live out of the UAB playbook, so if you just want to have no issue scoring whatsoever, Go check it out. Become a member. You gain access to everything on the site. Now let's get into it. Next, we have a cover 3, which is easily one of the most common coverages you're ever going to see in any football game. So the main weaknesses of a cover 3 are going to be up the seams. It does depend on if they play seam flats or not instead of curl flats, but we'll get to that in a second. The main weakness is these seams. Then you also have the deep sidelines or the short sidelines. It kind of depends on if they're playing curl flats or hard flats, if they're using zone drops or whatever. And then lastly, there is a game weakness cover 3. And what I mean by that is it's not really a weakness in real life. It's a weakness in college football or in Madden, just because of how they program these outside thirds. And I'll get to that at the very end. So the main weakness, again, is up the seams. And if you refer to the graphic, it's those red ovals up where the slot cornerbacks are or the slot receivers. That's like between the safeties in this case, right? So that's going to be the main weakness. And it's because we have 3 deep zones, but then we have 4 deep routes. So logic says one of these routes is probably going to be open. We're putting a lot of stress on this middle safety here to cover both of these inside streaks because the outside streaks are going to be covered by the outside thirds. So let's go ahead and try to fit one of these seams in. You're going to see that we can fit this in with a bullet pass. It's not exactly the easiest pass of all time because the outside third can help, the middle third can help, but usually one of these is going to be open. You can fit it in here just like that. That is a major weakness of a cover 3. Let me go ahead and get off this linebacker so we can show that again with that linebacker helping on the seam a little bit. We still have it right there. It's wide open. So that is one of the major weaknesses of a cover 3. Now, this is where it gets a little more complicated. So stick with me. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section and I'll provide some clarity. But what we've been going against is a cover 3 sky. So this is going to be more of a traditional cover 3 where we have curl flats as our flat zone defenders. But there is a variation of cover 3 that is going to take away the seam streaks that we just did. And that is called cover 3 match. What that's going to be is seam flats from your slot defenders. So right here, I don't believe I can put him on a seam flat. So we're just going to go ahead and man him up to the tight end just to simulate here. And what I want you to notice is that these 2 seam streaks are now going to be taken away out of a cover 3. The seam flats are going to match to these kind of streaks and they are going to bag them. So you can take away 4 verticals out of cover 3. Just keep in mind, that doesn't mean cover 3 match is better. It just solves a different problem. So I'll show you a couple different ways you can attack a cover 3 match. So let's say they are starting to match over there on the left side. You could do something as simple as doing a streak from the slot and then a comeback from the outside receiver. So something like this, then throw the comeback on the break. There you go, easy completion. That is one of the easiest things you can do. I'll do it one more time just to show you it's consistent. Forgot to do the seam flat, but it's going to be the same result. And then you can also get a little more creative with how you attack a cover 3 match. So we'll do seam flat over there. We'll clear out. We'll do the comeback still, why not? And then we'll put this guy on a deep cross. What you're going to see is that we're going to clear out the left side. We're going to force that linebacker to match. And then we're going to have this guy over the top. So go to instant replay and have a look at that. So let's say the user runs with the deep cross. That's okay, because then we have the comeback. But look at the running back. If this guy here isn't a user defender, he is going to match the running back. Seam streak or seam flat is matching to the seam streak. Comeback's going to win versus his guy because it's basically comeback versus man coverage at this point. And then if this linebacker is a user defender and he doesn't run with his deep cross, it's going to be wide open for a big gain. Okay, now let's talk about the sideline weakness. This is going to be very self-explanatory because it's a simple numbers game. If you look on the left side of the field, you have one defender in a curl flat, and then the second defender in an outside third. And the easiest way to attack 2 defenders is with 3 receivers. So this is a flood concept. All a flood concept is a way to attack a sideline and put a defender in conflict. So the defender we're putting in conflict is going to be this curl flat. He can only defend the intermediate threat or the short threat. So we have a clear out from the streak to get rid of the outside third. We have the corner route, which is going to attack the deep sideline. And then we have this kind of swing. You can also just use like a zig or something which is going to be your immediate check down. So if you look at this, you're going to see that one of these guys is going to be open. In this case, I know both are going to be open just because curl flats kind of suck. You need zone drops to really effectively take away the deep sideline. But that is a major weakness of a cover three, is right here on the sideline. And just to better demonstrate this, I went ahead and set my curl flats to 25 yards, which is going to allow it to defend that corner route. I know it looks a little goofy in the play art, but this is how you get them to actually play the deep sideline. So look at the corner route. He's now going to be covered, but we're now going to have this zig over here for an easy check down. So that is going to be more of a realistic look at somebody who's using zone drops to protect the deep sideline. Now, what somebody could do to defend this kind of concept is use Mabel coverage. And again, this is somewhat of an advanced tip, but you need to know it because there is a way to play cover three and take this away, which is, again, Mabel coverage. So let's do the same route combo. All your opponent has to do is play 25-yard curl flats or 20-yard curl flats, and then put this guy into a hard flat. So now you have two flat zones to take away the two flat routes. You have the corner route, and then you have the flat route. So let's have a look. You're going to see that we now take away the corner route and the check down. So I just want to make that clear. Just because we attack a traditional cover three with a sideline throw does not mean your opponent can't do anything to take that away. So that's why we have to mix up all of our cover three beaters. And then just to give you a counter to somebody using Mabel coverage, all I want you to do is think about what they're losing when they use Mabel. And that's an extra defender over the middle of the field. They have three guys committed to the sideline now. So what that's going to do is open up the seams. So what you could do is something like this. You could actually, in this case, just streak the running back, and that's going to be a viable throw for you. He's going to be wide open right here because who's the hook zone defender going to cover in the middle of the field? He has to pick between the tight end post and the running back streak. So there's always going to be a weakness to whatever kind of coverage you pick. It's just all about being smart about where the hole is on defense. And just to wrap up cover three, I'm going to show you a game weakness that allows you to bomb cover three for a one-play touchdown. This is going to vary from formation to formation. I wouldn't say it's going to be the exact same route combination across every formation, but the general recipe is going to be use a comeback, use a streak, and use a post. In this case, I'm going to have to stem this post up a little bit to get a little bit deeper, like this. And this is going to give us a one-play touchdown, like this. So I'll go to instant replay and kind of break this down so you guys can apply it to whatever formation that you like. But you want a comeback on one side because what that's going to do is allow the outside third to not play the post because on the break, he's going to bite down on this comeback. We have the streak over here, which is going to hold the middle third where he can't play the post. And the post is going to get into this open spot right here. If you get a better throw, that's going to be a one-play touchdown. So make sure you apply this bomb to whatever offense you use. Lastly, we have a cover four drop, which is easily the most safe coverage to play in the game. It's very hard to bomb this coverage because you have four deep zones that are dropping to their part of the field, and it's just super hard to outrun them. Now, I just so happen to have multiple cover four drop bombs out of the UAB offense on acemadden.com, so if you're interested in that, go check it out. But I'll show you how to fundamentally attack this coverage. So it's similar to cover three in regards to the fact that there's only one flat zone defender, so it's easily floodable. Like you can flood the sidelines on either side. And then the major weakness over the middle, you either have the check down underneath the hook zones or you have the area underneath the safeties and above the hook curls. So my favorite way for taking advantage of that major weakness is using dagger concept, which is basically a streak and a deep in. So this play is quite literally called dagger. We have the built-in dagger concept here. And you need those two routes, but then you can kind of mess around with the rest of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do something like this, maybe even stem up that dig a little bit further. And this is only a 3-man rush, so you're going to have all the time in the world. But we're going to get right underneath these safeties and above the hook curls. If the user takes that away, which he probably won't, a lot of people don't defend this route, you will have the drag underneath. So just make sure you have some kind of check down underneath these hook curls. And then something like a deep in getting above the hook curls. This is how you effectively high-low against a cover four. Cover 4 drop to be more specific. So what I'm going to do is stem that deep in a little bit further up the field and really show you how it can be a big play. Just like this. I'm telling you, this route doesn't get used very often. It was probably my favorite route from last year. And then, like I said before, you can attack the sidelines the same way that you did against cover 3 because they only have one flat zone defender. So we can put that guy in conflict with a flood concept. So streak on outside, corner route from here, flat from your running back, and then do whatever you want with the rest of your play. I might do something like this. This should be pretty good against cover 4 drop. Look out for the corner. Click on, make that catch, and then you'll get an easy completion. Let's just say that your opponent is using zone drops and he takes that away. Well, then what do you have next? You have the running back check down. And it's very hard to play Mabel coverage at a cover 4 drop because you have 4 deep zones. So I'd honestly argue that flooding cover 4 drop is easier, but you just have to keep in mind there's certain players who will switch stick over there and try to take away the corner route. So just be mindful of that. In the event that you're playing somebody who is switch sticking, you will sometimes have to resort to your check down, which would be your drag in this case on the backside. Just check it down for 5 to 10 yards. If this helped you beat zone, make sure to drop a like. We're going for 250, and if we hit it, I'll drop part 2 breaking down man and match coverage weaknesses. And as always, if you want full schemes that'll help you win more games, go check out acemadden.com. Become a member. You can use code ACE for 25% off, and you'll gain access to everything that's on the site. See you guys in the next one.